and Stu. Welcome to Bow Expo. Here we are, buddy. The time has come. The next chapter has begun.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you. Actually, I got you the balls last week, kind of off the grid, under secret stuff. You got to throw them. Tell me, this is your live first. This is first take, everybody. Stu, what do you think of the Menace?
It was an extremely big surprise to me how much it actually hooked.
Right.
I wasn't after throwing the Sinister and you saying it was the Sinister core and everything. I kind of had a picture in my mind of what it was going to do, right. And then it hooked a lot more than I was expecting it to. Cool. Yeah, so I actually had to get the lane guide to read all the lanes for me to be able to use it.
Nice. Okay.
So from what I saw, I felt like it kind of fits in between like the Crux and the Hypercell.
Okay.
Because the Hypercell tends to that's by far the strongest ball.
Oh, absolutely.
Like whenever we're playing on the long patterns and we're playing on Badger and stuff, you just see them all the way across the ball and center. Problem comes a little bit with the Hypercell. It's so strong that once the front starts to go a little bit and down the lane,
starts to read a little early,
you can't get it to pick up. But there's a big gap between that and the next ball.
Right.
And from what I've seen so far, and I think the Menace is going to fill the gap between that and then the Crux being the next one.
And that's the whole thing too. Even though it's asymmetric, it doesn't. It's all those deals where it's a really hard torque in the front part of the lane. It clears the front and give you, depending on how you drill it, of course, you can get that shape down lane. And like you're saying, as you start to move in, and a lot of times on tour, what we ran into, and you obviously still out there a lot. Man, when you guys chop it up so bad in the front, like you were saying, there's still like a window. You get like all of a sudden it's like boom, everybody goes to symmetrical course. But this one, I think you guys will probably be able to get a little bit more action before you have to jump to the symmetrical course.
I also think for a lot of people, I'm kind of in the mid-rev rate guy.
Yeah.
And for me, it's very difficult to go from the Hypercell and then go into a symmetrical ball because when we're playing on 52 feet, that's 8 feet of dry. That ain't a lot, bro.
But but you know what's funny about that? Like you said, when you have the Hypercell, you didn't have that big step down. That's kind of where this comes into play.
Yeah.
And that was the idea behind it. You know, when we were talking about how we're going to fill the HP3 line and what we're going to do. And of course, the one of the most, in recent memory, one of the most successful balls was the Disturb. The Asylum, we had the range in there. And people liked it, but of course, like bowling balls, there comes a time where they just kind of, trickle off and whatever. So that's why I brought that core back. But like you mentioned before, the Hypercell, and I said, hey, can we put that Hypercell cover on that ball? And they're like, oh, good idea, let's try it.
Yeah, definitely.
And you said this ball gets after it.
Well, I mean, over time, some of the greatest balls of all time, pretty much all of them are low RG solids.
Yeah.
I mean, can't really go wrong.
Can't go wrong,
and
right.
we didn't, we've been suffering a little bit with not having a low RG solid since the Disturbed, and it's surprising how many people keep finding Disturbs and keep bringing them out.
They keep popping up on eBay and everything else, right?
Where I really see this ball fitted in my arsenal, I see this fitting like, for me, I had a Disturbed, I had a Marvel S, and at times that could be a pretty big gap because the Marvel S is that little bit more off the back than sometimes you want until you can move in. This is going to be right slap bang in the middle, I feel. Like, you'll get through the lane. It actually, for me, even with the Hypercell cover, it almost felt like it was a little cleaner than the Disturbed, but it would really come off the back.
Dig in off.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
and that could be too. I mean, the fact that it comes out of the box 2000, and with that aggressive type deal, and even like with the Hypercell, there's times where that microbite cover, as strong as it is, it has a tendency to kind of, even though it reads in oil, but like you said, it gives you that extra push where it just depends on. And what's funny is it actually happens. You don't think of it with cores and covers. Sometimes it just match up a certain way, and this obviously happens. It gets you a little push.
I mean, I had to shine mine as well to give me a broader spectrum of what it would do, and it would. Yeah, I mean, it gave me a ball that I could really get around the corner. I mean, you were out on tour with me when the Disturb first came out.
Yeah.
I had a dull one, I had a shiny one,
right?
And I really wish I'd have had a dull Disturbed and a shiny Haywire. I think that could have given me. Like when you're really trying to trick it to get it around the corner, I think like this could have give you that bit around the corner.
Cool.
And with the lower RG, it's that bit smoother. You're not going to, especially on tour when it gets so wet dry,
right.
The lower RG balls can read it a little bit better.
And speaking of the wet dry thing, it's another thing that, the versatility in the line and, HP2, the success with the Outcry, Hybrid, Uproar, Pearl, being a different core shape, and actually the Wrecker is actually a hybrid as well. And that was a different core, and it's still one of. I mean, the balls are like going on 3 years old. It's
Patrick
like
Allen used one on New Stafford.
Yeah, just on TV.
You used one last week. Yeah, he swears by that ball. Four of them he's got in his car.
So to fill that gap, we actually took we took that record core and we modified it, and obviously you got to throw this one too.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, this ball's good. So I think what you were saying was like when they get chopped up, when you need that solid to get through the front and kind of play a certain shape on the lane, with a higher RG and a little bit more, a little bit less differential what the wrecker is, so it won't torque real hard off the spot. It'll read it though. So, I mean, you thought that was pretty good too, right?
Yeah, I actually really like this. I felt like when I'd been with the balls, like not just in Roto, with some a little bit, we were really lacking solid balls.
Right.
Like we had a lot of pull balls, we had a lot of balls that were really coming off it, but we didn't have that kind of smoother reaction. And this was, of all the 3 balls, this was the one that gave me the most enjoyment sort of thing. Like it exceeded expectations the most for me. I felt like in comparison to say an Outcry. Yeah, see, I'm not very good at ball names.
Yeah, but remember, we shot the video for that at Storm.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're like, oh, this was not bad, but now this is even different than that.
This one gives me a ball that I could almost, like when the guys ball on Cheetah and we throw it at the gutter and we can get it to blend off it.
Yeah.
That was the kind of reaction I could get out of it. It was strong enough that you could hook it, whereas maybe with the Outcry, when you got in and there was a bit too much oil, it would kind of miss the spot a little bit, and you couldn't make it hook the whole lane.
And that was,
whereas
like
with
that
this,
was one of those deals because the Outcry and the Uproar had a little bit less differential, and this is going to be a step above that, but a little bit, and not the shiny hybrid version of the wrecker. So yeah, it'll be a good option.
As I say, I feel like I'm intrigued to order a couple more and play around with layouts a little bit and surfaces and see where it can fit, because as I say, I'm really happy about the line.
Man, so you excited about this one? And by the way, this hardly ever happens. And Stu's like, oh yeah, I can see all these balls in my bag. So
yeah.
that's an awesome deal.
Definitely, yeah.
Cool. All right, Stu.
All right.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Simon.